Hello again, internet people. It's me, Judith. I was so overwhelmed by the reaction from my first video, which were majorly positive, that I've decided to continue and to try to entertain you again. Today I want to talk to you about something else. Well, of course it's going to be about my favorite subject, feminism, yay! But it's not a react video. Today I have many notes to go through, and I wanted to talk to you about the conflict there is right now and between feminist movement and the men's rights movement, and where it stems from and what we can do about it. First off, I want to make something clear. I find that nowadays people like to put you in a box so they can better understand and mostly judge you from that box. And I am not a feminist. The word that I use to describe myself is egalitarian. It sounds a lot like feminism, because feminism in concept has egalitarian principle at its core, because both of these ideologies advocate for freedoms and individual rights and a betterment of people. And the reason that I refuse to call myself a feminist, even though a lot of people think I hold many feminist ideology, which I do in a sense, is because of all the toxicity there is in the movement right now. And it's mostly exemplified by their hatred of men. Yes, feminists hate men. You're naive if you think that's not right, since there's so many of them out there that are just not only proud of it, but they'll tell everyone. They're all over. So don't deny the reality of things. It leads to nowhere good. So that's why I refuse to link myself with people who hate men, because nothing good is bred from hate. But there's a distinction. A lot of people will call those who oppose or criticize feminism anti-feminists, and I used that term for a while until I realized it was not really appropriate for me, because I don't oppose everything about feminism, only certain concept, ideologies, and tenets that I refuse. So I'm more of a non-feminist than anything else, the right word again being egalitarian. And I don't oppose everything about feminism, because at its core, it wants the betterment of people. It's a movement. I see feminism as human rights catered for women. And they just want to make people's life better, life be more just, more fair for women especially, and that's the problem with it. And that's why it's so widely accepted in society that feminism is good, because it's trying to do good things for people. And that's exactly why I cannot be an anti-feminist, because why would you oppose that? But the main problems with feminism is they've adopted this postmodernist neo-Marxist concept, mentality that the world is divided between oppressor and oppressed. If there's one thing you should know about modern and third wave feminism, this is exactly how they view the world. And once you get that, everything they do and say comes into focus a lot better, and you can understand them a lot better. This whole concept of the patriarchy is exactly what it is, this inequality that they view the world through. So women are at the bottom, men are at the top. But then gay people and trans people were like, hey, we're oppressed too. The majority of people are straight, and religious people think like being gay is an abomination. That's wrong. We're oppressed. So hey, come on, LGBT. Sorry for my spelling of alphabet. It's terrible. No offense. But all the trans, the gays, the bisexual, the queer, you're oppressed too. Come on in. And but then, like, especially if you look at the state of things in the United States, all the racial conflicts there is because of the historical culture of the black community being literally oppressed by the white community. Well, black people are also oppressed, but hey, not just black people, there's Hispanic, there's the Muslims now, people from the Middle East, they're oppressed too. Everybody's oppressed, come on in, it's the big oppression train. So the hate now is not just towards men, it's towards straight white men. And with the rise of social media and feminism using social media to spread their ideas all around, well, men have used the social media too to defend themselves, which they should, because you should always stand up against bullies. Always. Or they'll just eat the wool off your back. Give someone the leeway to abuse and they will fucking abuse you, so don't let them. So the more feminism try to push their ideologies, the more they're encountered by a resistance. And the resistance right now comes from men's group, otherwise known as MRA, Men's Right Association, but you know what I mean, the classic MRA with feminists accuse me to be an MRA all the time, even though the right word is egalitarian, not the same thing at all. So these men are like, hey, we're not all rapists and murderers. You're just comparing the worst example of masculinity and you're judging all of men with this worst example, and that's not fair. That's not just at all. You're just putting everybody in the same bucket just to judge and hate, and that is so wrong. And where the conflict is at right now is you have this core ideologies that men are there to oppress, and men are like, no, we're not oppressing anybody, and it just create a lot of tension, a lot of conflicts, and a lot of war, basically useless war between gender. And that's exactly what feminists want. They want to stir up the pot because they believe in the patriarchy. And basically what the patriarchy is a system in which society is organized. And what they want to do, thinking that this is highly unfair, that it's catered to advantage men over women, and men have all this privilege that women don't have. So what they want to do is just deconstruct the whole of society to put like a feminist utopia in its place, and it's not going to work. That's why we have a male crisis right now, because the men are feeling very disenfranchised from being called rapist and murderer and problematics, and telling them that their masculinity is toxic. So, and the thing that they do, feminists, to try to make people sound like, no, we're good, like, you like feminism, we're about bettering people's life. Yeah, but you're putting aside a lot of people too that need help too. There's a rise of male suicide, like combat deaths are mostly just men, homelessness is mostly men. Men face so many problems and you refuse to want to help them because you think they're privileged, because you think they're the oppressor. So you think men sit on this golden throne where they oppress everyone, and it's so ignorant of reality that it blows my fucking mind that people can think like that. And the worst thing that they do with this hatred is they justify it. They justify it all the fucking time. Because when I point out to feminists that that's what they're doing and that's wrong, what I get back is, I have a right to think like that. Like, I've been abused by men, I've been raped by men, men are sexist, and they withhold opportunities for me just because I'm a woman. That doesn't mean you have to hate all of them. They think they have this right to hate. Like the fuck? And every time they do that, what I like to do is point out to them that, you know who think like that too? Fucking white supremacists. And they fucking hate those white supremacists. What just cause? Because you don't want hate. Hate is taught. Hate is not a right that you have. Hate is wrong. It impedes progress and understanding and compassion, all the good things you want in a society to move forward all together. Hate is against all that. So don't hate, don't justify it. It's not right. Because it's pure gaslighting and manipulative. Men right now, every time they express concern for masculinity and what they're going through, they're met with, well, you should just shut up. You're privileged. You have an advantage. You don't need help. It's like somebody asks you for help and you point out that they have a penis so they don't deserve it. And you think you're right doing that? That's wrong. So what can we do about that? Because there's always a solution. It's not perfect, but there's things we can do. And I think we're already moving toward a goal of getting rid of this hateful ideologies. And you see that all the time online on Twitter and Facebook, which is the social media I use most. What we have to do is point out to them that hating is wrong. Because, I mean, it felt to me like it's fucking obvious, but apparently a lot of people don't see the things the way I see them. So we have to point out, we have to look at who's hateful and try to get rid of those. And it's already happening within the movement itself. Go on Twitter, type in feminism and read those tweets, and you'll see a lot of feminists saying, oh well, this feminist is she's not right because she's saying these things and it's not right, and black feminism is better because white feminism is shit, and real feminism is intersectional feminism, and they all have these various definitions as to what feminism is for themselves. And it's already happening. There's already like a pot stirring going on, and they hate TERF. Most of all, for those who don't know, TERFs are trans exclusionary feminists. They're feminists who don't like trans women because they used to be men, so they're not real women. They're everybody's entitled to their wrong opinion. But yeah, you should. So they hate fucking trans TERFs, and which it's okay in my opinion, because why do you want to exclude somebody because they used to have a penis? Like, how hateful do you have to be? But the thing I'm most glad of seeing is you have feminists right now waking up that a lot of feminists are hateful, and they're starting to point at those hateful feminists saying, that's not right what you're doing. Well, the feminism, you'll hear that all the time. Feminists don't hate men. And you're like, bullshit. But more and more of them are trying to wake up, and I think it's because of people like me, because there's a lot of people like me, people who've rejected some aspect of feminism or big critiques of it, and they're slowly realizing like there's a lot of toxic element within the feminist community, and we need to push those out. And one of the best way I find to do that is using shaming. Shame those who aren't doing the right thing. Public shaming is amazing, especially in this day and age of social platform where everybody has a fucking voice, you know. And one of the best way I've always find to communicate with feminists is use their terminologies, use the words that they use. That's why you'll hear me say toxic and problematic, which is all words I've picked up from listening to feminists, because it's the best way. if you want to be understood by someone else, you need to speak in a way that they will understood. Like a metaphor for it would be like if you're trying to build a box. You have your piece of wood, you have your drill, you have your screws, and you screw, the wood in and make a box. Well, what's the best way to deconstruct all that? You can take a sledgehammer and just break the whole box down, but you're not left with what you had at the beginning. You're left with chaos and destruction. The best way is to take that drill, reverse it, and unscrew all of those screws, and boom, disconstructed. And so that brings me back to using the right word. And I find the best tool to shame those men-haters is to call what they are, which are extremists. They're extremists and they're radicals. Radicals is the perfect word because it has such a negative connotation right now. Radicals, when I think radical, I don't know about you, but I think like ISIS, like radical Islamic, or even like incels right now. A lot of incels are these radical misogynists that think women owe them something. So the word radical is really a big power right now, and I fucking love to use it to point out as those man-hating feminists that you're a radical. If you think like that, you're a radical. We need to push the radicals out of the movement. And I think that's the only way to bring back feminism to a more wholesome concept that works for the betterment of not just women, but people overall. And the thing about that is, who's hateful? Do you want to point at the hateful one, saying they're problematic, they're wrong, they're radical, get the fuck out? And I've taken to have a very broad definition of what a hateful attitude is. Most feminists believe in the feminist concept of the patriarchy. And I firmly believe that if you believe in the patriarchy, you believe that men are a problem to be solved. That extremely, what's the word? It's not the right way of looking at things at all. You don't want to think like that. You're thinking that men are a problem. It just creates discrimination, it breeds hatred, and it breeds everything that you don't want your movement to be. So we need to kick those out. It's not good. Like, if feminism has such a bad name right now, they like to blame men because, it's always men's fault, but it's not the men who are giving, or just mean people who are, just trying to put bad labels on you. It's your fucking own action that brings people to think that you're like that. It's your action. And this entire idea that men are a problem to be solved, that's what has bred the crisis in masculinity we have right now, which I talked about before in my first video. There's still people who think that no, it's men's problematic masculinity that create problems for men. No. You only think like that because men are the oppressor. They have all the power, so their power is like diverted back to make other men toxic, and it boggles my mind. And you want a lot more wholesome movement out of feminists because you want to be able to help as many people as you can, not just women. Because if you just help women or gay, trans, people of color, because I'm not a color, why stop there? I once had a discussion with someone who was against the idea of helping a male victim of sexual violence, because in their mind, if you have an organization that every year helps 100 victims of sexual abuse, well, they help women mostly, but if we decide to help men too, well, you're taking resources away from women. Like, no, you're giving resources to those who need it. no matter what their gender is. And that's feminism really need to readjust itself, and that's where all the conflict is this idea. It's so pervasive. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Pervasive. It creates so much dissension, so much conflict, and we need to stop thinking like that. We need to shame the radical, push them out, so the movement can become a lot better, and we can work toward more cooperation between the gender, which is, I think, the entire history of humanity has been about cooperation, so we can both survive together. But they decided to take this postmodernist stance, and yeah, I blame them for everything. If you talk to me, like, a lot of societal problems we have right now are just caused by feminists. I sound like a fucking conspiracy theorist sometimes. But hey, those are my positions. I stand by them. And yeah, we need to reject those ideologies that are damaging social dynamics between genders, and we need to stop blaming men for creating those problems in the first place, because they're not the one to blame here at all. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy yourself. I sure enjoy myself doing this. I want to thank everybody who's liking what I do. Please like, share, and if you have any comments, give me comments on what I'm doing. If you have positive criticism, yeah, let's hear them. I want to get better at what I do. So if you have suggestions too, if you want to hear me talk about certain topics, let me know, and if that might just happen. So yes, thank you all for liking what I do, and I'll probably be doing that again sometime. So see you later, alligator.